residential schools are a big deal. A lot of opinions on both sides. A Senate committee said they want to make a law that makes it illegal to discuss what happened in residential schools. Before I get to that, please fund us because we want to stay on the air. We want to take the hard issues across Canada, and subscribe. My guest is Restoule, who is an Ojibwe Indian from the Dokis Nation. And she's also a consultant in Toronto who is very much in demand. It was tough to get her here because she makes so much money from people paying her. But let's just talk about residential schools. For years, it was anathema to even talk about it. Trudeau, went down on his knee. He said Canada is guilty of genocide. And a number of people now are saying, there's no question. They were awful institutions to a degree, as were lots of institutions. No question, people died in them. Was it genocide? Put that question to you.
I would fairly say that Phil Fontaine is the leader in opening up the conversation on residential schools here.
Right.
Former National Chief Phil Fontaine.
I know.
He himself attended. He was the plaintiff that led the class action lawsuit. And really is, without his courage and his leadership, we wouldn't even be having this conversation here today.
I know some people who went to residential schools and they said it was a good thing because they were fed and they were educated, and it wasn't all a bowl of cherries. But like with any institution, 120 years ago, there were some bad people and there were some liberties taken which were wrong. Was there wholesale murder?
I have met some folks who've gone to residential school who claim to have a positive experience in the sense that they may not have experienced sexual abuse in the way that others had, or they may not have been physically abused in the way that others had. But let's look at the origin of the policy itself. Is it a good thing that the government and the church were coming into homes and ripping kids from their families? I would say fairly, no.
The government does that now when there are parents who are bad parents, improper parents, and they do it to save lives. And you know that as well. I don't know the numbers of it. There was a death in BC just recently where the government was forced to put the kid back and the kid was killed then. So in some cases, it's fine. But as a policy, we have to look at the times. The times, they were very different. Now, it would be impossible, right? Like, who would want to?
I think revisionist history is a very slippery thing. We can't look at the problems from 70 years ago with the lens of today.
Right.
To be fair, the government and church thought they were doing a good thing, and now we know that they weren't, right? Ripping kids from their families and homes is not a good thing.
No,
to your point, there are sometimes circumstances where the home is not adequate. It doesn't support children. To be fair, that's not just with Indigenous kids. That's non-Indigenous kids across the country as well.
You're right, Karen.
Yeah.
So, I have 20 seconds left. What should happen with this issue?
In terms of?
Well, should we just wail about it, or can we move on?
I would like to see more freedom schools, like the one in Akwesasne, where the community is taking leadership on education for their kids. That's what I would like to see.
And that's a smart idea from Karen. Thank you very much. 3 minutes. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government. And as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.